Number 7. False accounts. On January 31st, 2015, a Colombian model named Carolina Munoz was forced into a car by two of her colleagues, Yami and Claudia Ray. The sisters were furious with her after she made fake social media accounts and posted unflattering photos of the two without their permission. Reportedly, these pictures were taken before they had plastic surgery procedures done. According to Munoz, the attackers kidnapped Munoz, bit her, cut off her clothes, shaved her hair, and even electrocuted her at one point during the abduction. They threatened that they were going to kill her for what she did to them, and that they knew too many powerful people who could protect them against the law if it came to that. The sisters also claimed that Carolina would be the one who'd lose in the end, and that the next time she tried to do something, they'd throw acid on her face to ruin her life and career. The victim also reported that the girls robbed her and even posted naked photos of her on social media after the incident. Local media revealed that, as the sisters left their victim abandoned and alone in the street, they crashed into another car. This got the attention of nearby cops, and the two models were soon arrested, but set free not long after. Carolina later admitted that she did actually create fake Twitter accounts to shame the sisters, but insisted that she only did it because they wrote negative comments about her online. In February 2016, Yami was detained at the Bogota airport while she tried to make her way out of the country and escape to Miami. She was taken into custody and finally had to answer for her crimes, while her sister Claudia remained at large. One of the most horrifying things about this story is that Yami was only 20 years old when she committed such a horrific crime alongside her sister. Number 6. Never Getting Over You. In July 2017, 25-year-old Dominique Barragan broke into his former lover's home in Stockton, Greater Manchester, and went through her things. In the drawer beside her bed, he found an open box of condoms with one missing. This was more than enough for him to fly off the deep end and make assumptions. He turned the entire home upside down and even set her bedroom on fire. Luckily enough, his ex wasn't there since she was visiting her mother. By the time firefighters arrived, there was black smoke coming from the front bedroom window. Authorities soon realized Dominic had gotten into the house through the back door in the kitchen and had started the fire by lighting up the bed. The next day, he turned himself into police. While initially he denied any wrongdoing, he quickly came to his senses and pleaded guilty to common assault and arson. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison and banned from contacting his ex-girlfriend under the terms of the binding restraining order. This wasn't the first time he had gotten into trouble either. Dominic had 16 previous offenses on his record, including convictions for criminal damage, assault, and more, and the court found out some more disturbing facts about their relationship. Apparently, Barragan abused prescription and non-prescription drugs pretty often, and once, while under the influence, he wrapped his partner in cling film. She kept saying she didn't want him to do it, but he laughed at her, threw her on the bed, and continued. Later, he ripped off the film and called her boring. On another occasion, he choked her until she could barely breathe. Pretty concerning behavior. He was also a devout Christian, and often used this to control his lover and stop her from working by saying his religion taught that women should have no burdens and men had to do all the work. His ex-girlfriend had strong feelings for him and tried to help him through his issues, but he continued to force his faith down her throat to the point that she told him to get some help. After the arson incident, she was so traumatized that she literally had to move from the area and start fresh somewhere else. Number 5. Toxic Mess. Adam Yoder and Caitlin Conley met in 2011, and they immediately fell head over heels for each other. She was warmly welcomed into the family very quickly, and Adam's mom, Mary, adored the 23-year-old girl. She treated her like her own daughter and even set her up with a job as an office manager for her chiropractor practice that she owned with her husband. But Adam and Caitlin's relationship was anything but perfect. They broke up many times over the years, and things grew quite tense between them. Finally, Adam ended things for good, but Caitlin kept working at the practice and was still pretty close with his mom. And then, on July 20th, 2015, something strange happened. Mary got very sick all of a sudden. She had diarrhea and began to vomit frequently. Her husband took her to the hospital, but in just 24 hours, her body had started to swell and her organs eventually shut down. By the next morning, she suffered 8 heart attacks while the doctors struggled to bring her back over and over again. That afternoon, she suffered a fatal heart attack and died surrounded by her grieving loved ones. Her friends and family were left stunned by the sudden sickness, and at 60 years old, Mary was quite healthy, and no one really knew why this happened to her. But their questions were answered when the autopsy revealed that her organs had been under attack from a poison called colchicine. which is a medicine typically used for treating gout. It can cause cramping and vomiting in healthy people, but if the dose is too high, it has been known to kill. When the police started investigating, they first focused on the husband, Bill, because after Mary's death, he started dating her older sister, Kathleen, suspiciously quickly. He insisted that nothing happened while he was still married and denied any involvement in the wife's death. Then they received an anonymous letter that claimed Mary's son Adam was the murderer. The cops searched his car and found a vial of colchicine inside. An email account in his name was used to order it, so naturally he became the investigators' prime suspect. But why would a murderer keep such an important piece of evidence in their car? It was soon discovered that it was actually Caitlin who had written the anonymous letter, and the receipts for the drugs also formed a trail back to her. Officers concluded that she had poisoned Mary to get back at Adam for breaking up with her, and framed him as the final twist of the knife in his back. She was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. The court found her guilty, and she was sent to jail for 23 years for her heartless crimes. Do you think 23 years is enough jail time for Caitlin killing her ex's mother? Tell us in the comments below and hit that subscribe button while you're at it. Number 4. Murderous to-do list. 17-year-old Sophie George believed that her boyfriend Adam Yayases was being unfaithful to her, and she was not happy about it. On October 10, 2020, Sophie asked Adam to pick her up, and when the pair met, she got upset because he brought his work van instead of his personal car. Why? Well, because she had been researching how to lock car doors from the inside of a model he usually drove. She didn't know how to work the van, and this sent her into a frustrated rage. Yayases took her to what she had told him was a friend's house, and there she picked up 2 bags holding her murder and torture kits. After this, they drove towards nearby Wild Park, but when he said he wanted to get some food instead, Sophie grabbed the steering wheel twice and forced him to change directions, and then she pulled a knife on him. At first, he was speechless, but when she tried to stab him, he cut his hand, dodging the blow, and quickly got out of the van. A woman nearby called the police, who came to the scene. They saw that poor Adam had injuries to his face where he had been punched, and his finger had been bitten to the bone. After searching Sophie's bags, officers found a bottle of bleach, a forensic suit, gloves, a lighter, bin bags, tape, a knife, a mobile phone, and some lighter fuel. When they went to her home, they actually saw a plan and a disturbing to-do list she had written for kidnapping and torturing her boyfriend. The list including telling herself to turn off her phone and deleting all messages and contacts in order to avoid police detection. At first, she denied all charges, but in May of last year, she pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 13.5 years in prison for a premeditated attempted murder. The jury agreed that if the victim had not been able to overpower Sophie, she would have gone through with the crime and murdered an innocent man. Number 3. Dublin Deceit and Death. On February 16, 2014, the Plaza Hotel in Dublin hosted one of the most terrifying murders ever committed. 35-year-old Eric Locke used fake Facebook profiles to lure his ex-girlfriend Sonia Blunt to his hotel room. They had dated briefly before, but their relationship ended in January after he called her a slut during an argument. She obviously didn't take too kindly to this insult and broke up with him. He tried to get back with her many times, but Sonia had made her decision. After this, he decided to make the account and hurt her in some way. Apparently, after she accepted the fake profile's invitation, Locke was angry that his ex-girlfriend was willing to meet a stranger for sex in a hotel room, and this sent him into a murderous rage. According to him, she was shocked when he walked into the room, but soon started talking things out calmly. He claimed they had consensual sex, after which he took some cable ties, masking tape, and a pellet gun out of his pockets. When she started screaming in horror, he panicked and strangled her to death. After the incident, he turned himself in. He denied claims that he had raped her, and while he did confess to the murder, he insisted that he never intended to kill her. He said he wanted to tell her about everything he was going through to make her understand his pain. While the defendant argued that he was suffering from a mental disorder and that this reduced his responsibility, government psychologists did not agree. They believed he was perfectly capable of expressing his emotions and making his decisions in a rational way. The court found him guilty of first-degree murder, and he was given a life sentence for his crimes. Number 2. Immoral Maryland Mayor. In November 2021, the mayor of a city in Maryland, Andrew Bradshaw, was arrested and charged with distributing revenge porn. Apparently, he posted nude photos of an ex-girlfriend on the internet to get even with her for breaking up with him. Not only was this done without her consent, but these pictures were also captioned with racial slurs and incredibly vulgar statements. The 32-year-old elected official distributed these photos using multiple Reddit accounts he created using different variations of his ex-girlfriend's name and birthday. When the woman found the images, she was disgusted. She quickly contacted the authorities and informed them that Bradshaw was the only one who had the photos, since she had sent them when they were still romantically involved. He was interviewed by police and admitted that he he had in fact created the accounts and posted her explicit photos. Unsurprisingly, he had to resign as mayor, and an entire city was left shocked and appalled by their leader's actions. But because of a shocking plea deal with the state prosecutors, he managed to escape prison time. Any incarceration time was suspended and he was allowed to walk as a free man. The only punishment he got was having to pay $5,000 in fines and $750 in restitution to the victim. Other than that, he had to complete 100 hours of community service. Many believe he got off easy and that he should have spent at least 10 years in prison for his despicable actions. Number 1. Murder Down Under. In March 2019, a dentist in Sydney, Australia, Preeti Reddy, was stabbed and beaten to death in a hotel room. The next day, her body was found stuffed into a suitcase in her own vehicle. It was soon discovered that this heinous crime was committed by her former lover and fellow dentist, Harsh Narde. After committing the crime, he took his own life in a fiery car crash on a New England highway. Reportedly, the pair had attended the same dental conference a few days before and even had dinner together to catch up. The restaurant owner told police that they didn't seem like a couple, revealing that neither of them looked happy while together. Authorities discovered ample evidence suggesting that the victim was trying to be compassionate and understanding. She wanted to give Harsh closure after their relationship, but this was something he wasn't willing to accept, mainly because she had already met someone new and was planning to move away with them to Melbourne. In fact, the last call she ever made was to her boyfriend, as she informed him she was spending the night with her friends. And it wasn't like the murder happened in the spur of the moment. Harsh was clearly planning on covering up his tracks, since he had bought a suitcase, garbage bags, cleaning supplies, and towels while staying in a 5-star hotel on Market Street. After Dr. Reddy's tragic and heartbreaking death, her relatives criticized the lack of services available for helping women stuck in abusive relationships. Maybe if she had just gotten help at the right time, this terrible incident would not have happened. Thanks for watching. Have you ever gotten revenge on someone? Tell us in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time on The Bad Badger.